Hey, everybody, welcome to our quarterly Out of the Fire gathering. I always love these calls that we do together. So, just a heads up that I have a puppy that I am trying to keep from eating the place that I'm at. She's actually lying down quiet right now. So, blessings. I'm not even going to show her to you. I'll show her at the end because otherwise she may get crazy. But look what happens when it's like 100 degrees where you're at. Inside my little trailer. She's actually laying down because she can't move because it's so hot. Yay! So good. So these are very informal gatherings where I share a couple things that are up for me, what I'm writing about. We talk a little bit about just out of the fire magic. And I am so open to questions and share. So I chose to make this one. This is usually just for paid subscribers. Today I was like, let's just invite anybody who wants to come play. So welcome both the paid subscribers. And I am so immensely grateful to you as well as the free subscribers, anybody who jumped on. We always love doing these quarterly gatherings. So let us just start with a little overview. It has been 2 years since I started Out of the Fire, and 3 years since the wildfire then went through Warrior Heart Ranch. And so, just a little bit about both of those things. Out of the Fire is the place where I get to explore being a writer. It's really cool. So for years, I wrote the newsletter for the Warrior Goddess community. We still use a lot of my back articles, but the team has really taken over writing more on that, which has been really helpful because it's freed me up to really feel into what do I want to write about, and to have the spaciousness to talk about what's going on for me, to write articles that have no point at all, which is just always lovely. Although I seem to have a hard time doing that. I'm like, damn, there's another moral to this one as well. I can't help myself. um, and also just share like the adventures of living on 180 acres, the adventures of living on the road, the adventures of having a little border collie. I need to put her in the heat more often, obviously, because this is a first. She's lying down. Oh, see, spell broken. Here, come eat this. Good girl. Uh, um, and as I said, welcome to Erica and Gina. Good to see you, love. And B. Heron. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, y'all. Hey, Sonia, too. Amanda joined late, too, or just on time. I shouldn't say late. So, and Kamala, hey, love. Good to see you here. So, 2 years of Out of the Fire. I'm always open to article suggestions. I have a couple in the queue, so some articles that are coming up. And I think this is pretty funny. So I'm writing an article. Please don't eat that. Please don't eat that. Eat this. Yeah. She likes eating the rug. All right, 1 second. Let me get something else fuzzy. Mystic, this is yours. You can eat this. You cannot eat the rug. I know the rug seems like it's, yes, there we go. Okay. Soft, squishy thing. It worked. Admit. Okay. So I'm working on an article right now about living in a tent, which I love so much. Yeah, please don't eat that. Sounds like an article. Exactly, Heather. That's my life. Please don't eat that. Please don't eat that. No, please don't eat that. So right now I'm working on an article about living in a tent, and the article kind of starts off with me spending my first night in the new 12 by 15 tent. My old tent was burnt by the fire. It took me 2.5 years to replace it, and I just left it up, and I would just cry every time I looked at it because I love that tent so much. So we finally put it up. I spent my first night, and the first night I was kind of tucking myself in. I thought, I turn 60 next year. Maybe I'm too old to live in a tent. And then I woke up in the middle of the night and I'm like, nope, definitely not too old to live in a tent. This is the best. I love it so much. So unfortunately, I have more to write about. So I was just going to write this really sweet article about the joy of living in a tent and share all the photos. Well, yesterday I went up to the land and it has rained a lot here while I was gone. And I walked up to my tent, and as I'm unzipping it, I'm like, oh shit, I know what that smell is. Wet. And the entire tent had flooded. Carpets, all my clothing. Luckily, you know, everything's like the sofa's there, there's a bed there, but everything was up. I don't have the bed on the floor, thank goddess. And there's mud everywhere, and you're walking and it's swishing. So I'm basically on clay, and I can hear water underneath my feet. And I'm like, oh, I guess I'm going to have more to write about. So we will share more photos of all my clothing, stretched around all the little oak scrub that I could find to dry everything off. Everything's pulled out, and then we're going to reassess. Do I need to move my house because it's in a flood zone that we didn't realize, or trench it somehow to keep the rain? But this is the thing about being in a flood zone. Well, not a flood zone, I shouldn't say that, a fire zone. Those of you that have been in fire know that the fire zone isn't just about the fire. Everything then starts flooding because there isn't enough vegetation to catch the water. And so there's just interesting new things to think about when you're navigating burnt land. So, but at least I can just move the tent. It's not that big of a deal, right? I didn't build a house in a floodplain. I just pitched a tent, so I can move it. Yay. So that article is coming up. There's been a request for an article about communicating in hard relationships, communicating in challenging relationships, and how to do that. So that one, please don't eat that. I think that is definitely an article coming up. Having a 5-month-old puppy, and since we've written about shit before and that end of the spectrum, we can talk about the mouth end of the spectrum now, because now everything's like being hoovered into said mouth. And then I'm also going to start working on my next book. So I'm working on a book on self-care, communication, and leadership, and self-leadership and leadership in the world. And it's really about how do we integrate being unconditional in the world with ourselves and with others. And so I've already written the self-care part that's part of Out of the Fire. Oh, and I was going to share, and I'll share the final product. I'm going to write myself a note, because we did create a PDF of all those articles that's gorgeous that I wanted to send with to all of the paid folks. So I'm writing myself a note on my task list right now. Task, yes, please. Send PDF Out of the Fire. Okay, perfect. So you all will get that. And I'm open to other article ideas, but I'm going to start sharing more about communication and more about unconditional leadership and what that looks like, and doing some for just paid and some for everybody. So we'll see how it goes. That's the next project that I get to start working on. So, and then update on the land around the fire and where we're at 3 years later. The fire went through the land May 10th, 3 years ago. So we're at the 3-year anniversary. And some of you, like Leah, has been intimate with pre and post fire land, and was on one of the first walks that we did after the fire went through, and everything was literally still smoking and black, black, black. So right now there are field peas that we planted 2 years ago that are coming up, that bright yellow. Oh my God, they're so beautiful. And penisman, I think they're called. There's some periwinkle thing that's coming up, and we'll be planting a lot more seed balls. I have a big container of seed balls that we'll be putting out and doing the next level of planting. So that is really thrilling. And the big news is, and I'll be writing about this as well and taking a lot of photographs, is that we've been visioning for the last couple of years how to do restoration, and it's just incredibly overwhelming because so much was burned. We lost 175 acres, and how do you even begin? So we've been starting really slowly around the house. We planted some wild plum trees and some aspens, and there's some aspens growing up top in some of the worst of the burn areas. Aspens are coming back, which is remarkable because aspens grow from roots under the earth. And that means that there's been aspens hanging out under the earth for 50 years when the last burn was. So crazy. So we're going to use those aspens as our first two big circles. So the vision is to create, and some of you were on the call when I shared this before, to create these big circles that are about like 6-foot metal. We'll probably put prayer flags around to keep the deer discouraged, that have a gate that we can go into, but they'll be big. And that within that, we'll then plant wildflowers and grasses and trees so that we can then keep everything watered. And the vision is that they'll be up for about 2 years, and that we're going to create canvas kind of tarps that'll do rainwater, that will collect rainwater. And that the rainwater will then get filtered, and we'll have it on a timer so that it will water things. And so nobody has to be up there for the times that we're not around. And that will also then, this is very exciting. My dear friend Ernesto, who's been doing so much work up there, he had an old truck. So we just put a new engine in his truck, and that's going to be the watering truck. So we're going to put a big water container behind it with a pump. And so we can drive around and water things as well when there isn't rain, because it's either flooding or it's drought. Welcome to New Mexico and the Southwest, basically. So that will be really beautiful to have exploration of what does well, and that when we pull the, I mean, obviously then things will start spreading out from there. And I also bought a drone recently from my friend Caitlin, had this vision of us taking photos every year of, so we can really see what's working restoration wise. And the plan is to make it a project that other people can follow. So especially for the desert, you know, I'm starting to hear about, people are starting to tell me about a lot of different restoration and ways to work on the land. And a lot of people that are running experiments live on the East Coast where there's a lot of water. So the desert's a whole different animal to navigate. So that's what we're going to be playing with, is how do we do desert restoration, and how do we reach out. I just met somebody in the hot springs yesterday who works at a place that does soil restoration in Santa Fe. So I'll be checking them out. So that's the magic that's happening up on the land right now. And we have a work party that starts on Monday, and we have people that come and help us to build. So we'll be finishing the bathhouse and starting to work on finishing the A-frame that we've been building out of reclaimed wood from the fire. And hopefully we'll start building the second A-frame as well. Leah, I'm now demonstrating why you're glad you're not here, just in case you forgot for a second, you know. It's hot. So we're really blessed here because it does cool down at night. So, all right. So questions, shares, how are you? What's your favorite article of the last year? What do you want me to write more on? Could you use a pep talk? We can do pep talks for sure. So any shares, any questions, feel free to unmute. Feel free to pop something in the chat. And go over to gallery view so I can see all your beautiful faces.
They are beautiful faces.
Good to see everybody.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, my favorite article was the one about the seed bombs. That was part of I get other email from Warrior Goddess, but I believe that was one that you had shared in your newsletter. So that would be my favorite one. And I did make seed bombs with a group of kids. And
oh, good.
I love the story. So that one stood out. But my question is this. I was trying to make a decision lately. I have a trip planned next week to go see some family. Then I'm home. Then I'm going on another trip in mid-June, going overseas to ostensibly study a language, but I think it's going to be just more travel. So there was an opportunity to travel in between those two trips. So there's one next week and then one in June. So I checked in with a person I know who's kind of a life coach, and she really thought I should go to the in-between. It was a conference, and more of a professional conference. And she thought I should go. And she was encouraging me, and she was like, you really need to raise your vibration. You need to live more with joy. And I think that made sense. And I thought, okay, yeah, I'm gonna go. But then I realized it's a lot of travel. Even the 2 trips I've described, I haven't worked out all the details. Like I need to rent a car and finalize a few things. So even those 2 trips aren't really that finalized. And then it just occurred to me, well, is that just the dream of the planet that um like you need to raise your vibration, and I just had this insight, and I don't know if it was an insight. So that's therein lies my question. I just thought, well, maybe this is just my vibration for now. Like maybe it's kind of low and not on the peppy side. And maybe that's just okay. Is that
Joe, I
something
can
funny?
just share with you, anytime anybody says you need to, question it. Like you don't even have to hear what else they say, but you should right there be like, question? Because how the hell do they know what you need?
Well, I don't know if they said it that way. That's just me paraphrasing, but
Yeah,
I think that was the message.
yeah.
Like, you know, what's on the menu for you is raise your vibration, get out there, have some fun. And I said, well, I don't know if I want to go to this conference because the papers don't look that exciting. Well, how do you know? But I mean, I do know because I read the titles. And anyway, I'm just adding on to the central message, but
Yeah. So that would be my just reflection, is that,
Mhm.
you know, people love telling other people what to do, including us, right? Like, be honest with ourselves. We also love telling people what to do and thinking about what we think they should be doing. So we can have compassion. It really comes down to when somebody says something to me, I'm like immediately like, nope. I take it and I sit and I'm just what you're doing, Joe, which is, is this actually in alignment with what I'm wanting in my life right now? And so in relationships, in all relationships, whether it's a business relationship, a friendship, a partnership in any way, there's the dynamic of us sharing with each other and inviting each other and like being excited about things that maybe the other person isn't excited about. And I always come back to what's my intent for myself. And when somebody gives me a piece of information, then I can take it and say, is this in alignment with, yeah, exactly, and ourselves? Is this in alignment with what my intent is for myself? Yes or no? And if it's a yes, it is in alignment. That doesn't mean I say absolute yes, but then I'm like, okay, that is in alignment. Let's see. Let's then keep questioning. So, and I love that you're like, maybe this is my vibration. Maybe this is it. Yeah. No, there's no rule about where your vibration should be.
I think it's also because we've been working on joy too, so it resonated with
Yeah.
teachings from the warrior goddess, and
Yeah.
um, that that is a good aspiration, but is it
Is
where I
this
want to
the
put?
right one for you?
Yeah, yeah. Is that
Absolutely.
the way to do it? And do I need to
Yeah.
kind of spiral down about having, being in a lower vibration instead of just being, well, this is where I'm at right now, and what's the gift of this? And
Yeah. Absolutely.
yeah, okay,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Again,
All
I
right.
also question anybody that says raise your vibration. Like right there, I'm like, yeah, exactly. Music takes all kinds of vibrations to make up the song. Nice, Ashley. Love it. Yeah, it's okay not to be bubbly. Agreed. Agreed. Okay, Lisa writes, I loved your recent quiz and series. I'm a pleaser, and that is so true for me. And again, I will definitely go over the tips again. Wonderful. Yeah, and I'll share. That's a really good point, because that was part of the, I don't even know if I shared that in Substack, which I may have. But yeah, isn't it good? I was so happy and proud of that quiz. And we just did a live group, and I got to say to the live group, go take the quiz and then let's talk about it. So that's a fun thing too, that if you're in a relationship, again, of any sort, it can be really helpful for both of you to take the quiz, so you can then have some dialogue about oh, I'm a controller and you're a pleaser. Let's talk about ways that we can be in a relationship. Or, oh, I'm an isolator and you're a distractor. So how does that make things, how does that work on things? Yeah, so that's great. Yeah, I love the quiz too. So just so we know, just so we give an update, the dog is under the bed. This starts to happen. Anybody have had kids, I'm sure you hit this point where you're like, I don't care what they're eating. Like, as long as it's not going to kill them, I don't care. So if she's eating something, probably the wall. Oh, it is part of the wall. Okay, so we won't even look at that for a minute. The quiz is, hey, sweetheart, the quiz is at, I think it's just at warriorgoddess.com/quiz. And I'll go ahead and put it in a Substack and write more about it because it's so helpful. I'm going to put another note for myself because that's how it goes these days. Quiz for Substack. So I can write something just for you all, which would be really, really fun. One moment, let me go take the wall out of my dog's mouth. What are you doing? Is that tasty? It is. Oh my gosh. I'm being serious. Oh, I think I bought this. You all see? I think it's a laminate. Oh, it is. It's a laminate that I bought. Oh, well, bye-bye. Missy, come here. And I don't even care because it kept her busy for 5 minutes. Come here. Oh, Kaklush, what a great idea. Is there a place we can share the wild, willing, wise insights and drawings? Let's go look right now, because I wonder if on Substack, I'm going to look in the podcast really quick and look at the episodes and see if you can write a comment. Can you add photos to the comments? Let's look. Maybe not. But I can play with that. This is a great idea.
Yay.
Yeah. So what I can do is create a doc. I mean, you can always share in the podcast. If you're listening to one of the podcasts, I've been doing Wild, Willing, Wise Book Club. And my plan is to eventually do many of the books, probably not all, but to read the books and for us to be able to share and connect in that way. So we're up to episode 7. We're halfway through the willing chapter, the big section on willing. And I'll go all the way through the book. I'm back kind of in rhythm now, so I'll be getting back to doing those weekly. And yeah, Kaklush, I'll see if I can find a way for us to share drawings, because I would love to hear, and definitely share your insights in the podcast if something inspires you. I do read all the comments and reply to almost all of the comments. My breastfeeding mother drawing for willing is beautiful. Oh, I'd love to see it. That's great. That is fabulous. Yeah. And then I was thinking about actually doing the next book is doing Awaken Your Inner Fire, because it's such a good book. And it's one of the kind of my least known, and it's really such a great one, and so helpful for these times. So I was like, I'd appreciate reading that. I'm doing book club. Yeah. Leah, Ash, are there enough articles to create an index based on themes that can point to a group of writings that connect in certain ways? Yes, I've been thinking about that. And there's also something about tags that I was researching that I haven't figured out yet, but there's also a way to organize through tags. And what that does apparently is you can type, again, I haven't researched this all the way. You can type something in and it'll pull all those articles up. So I'm going to go write that down. Thank you. I think that's a brilliant idea, because yeah, there's a lot of articles now, 2 years of, yeah. Okay, great. Writing a note in Asana.
I was just sorting my bookshelf and this book showed up.
Mine too.
A few days ago, I sorted through my bookshelf and this was the one that
Excellent.
popped up.
Good. Okay. And
so we're on a roll here.
As well, there's Kaklush's. I love it. Oh my God, that's great. Yeah, it's such a good book. and sort by theme Substack. Okay, can definitely do that. I love that.
Cool.
And then Inner Fire is our next book.
Books here. Okay.
Okay, perfect. Great. Lisa, I have a few of your books, but have not read
My beautiful
it yet.
creatures.
I have a few ebooks in the library. I love Wargastring. Ah, thanks, Lisa. I love that. That's great. Oh, and Amanda, I love it's what your book group is currently reading. That makes me happy. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, such a good book. Hi, Erica. A big thing coming up in all areas of my life is accepting help when you have illness or injury without feeling guilty or beating yourself up for not being able to do it alone. I could write about this one for sure. I am capturing that. That's such a great. So let's talk about that. And then I'll definitely write an article on that because that's a big one. Yeah. Great. Okay, pop quiz. Anybody else? Just Erica and me that has a hard time asking for help and receiving it? Yes. Okay, yeah. Yes. So just to normalize that is often something that we take on as a belief without realizing how deep the belief goes. Okay, so that's like a Bermuda grass one I would consider. So Bermuda grass, you think you pull the top of it out, but its roots go really, really deep and it just springs back in different interesting forms. And that I have to do it alone is one of the Bermuda grass ones. Okay, the roots are deep, and part of the roots are from Western civilization, specifically America, because America was founded on Protestant work ethic, which basically says you have to work and work and work and work and work, and maybe God will forgive you for your sins. Not you will definitely get forgiven, maybe. So there's this feeling that we take on of, I have to prove myself, I have to be deserving. And also there's this huge individual in Western culture, and again, especially in America, and I have to show that I can do things on my own. And, this is an interesting thing too, that we're also navigating. So this is the complexity, right? So I always start from the big picture and then come down to the little. Some of you may or may not know this, but my college degree was an independent degree, and I studied international relations because I wanted to understand how governments and global systems work together on the biggest level, and community development because I wanted to understand how do we make change on a community level. So I was studying this, and this is what I still do in my life, is I always look at what's the big picture and then what's the global, what's the local. So the global is how many of us are caring because of the way that, maybe not even the way we were raised, we were probably raised this way, but from the culture, from the dream that we're in, what do we pick up? And so on that kind of higher level, there's strong messaging. It's not all bad, right? But when we then take it on as, I'm only good if. And then we also have another layer where, as women, we have been told we're not as good as men, we're fragile, we need help, right? So there's that whole programming that we're overcoming, but then we often overcompensate. I now have to prove that I am a strong woman. I don't need anybody's help. Okay, which is an overcompensation rather than a true, I want to do this on my own. I want to figure this out. I'm excited. Or there isn't anybody else, and that's okay. I can do this. Okay. Because sometimes there isn't anybody else. Versus, I'm not valuable, I'm not courageous, I'm not strong, I'm not proving myself unless I'm doing this by myself, unless I'm independent. And that also then gets really, really, really kicked up when we get injured or sick. Because we're not in a culture that honors the body. We're in a culture that says you should be productive no matter what's going on with you, basically. You should keep being productive. And so when your body starts doing body stuff, I'm going to plug my computer in, then accepting help feels like defeat, can feel like defeat, or can feel really scary because it makes us feel vulnerable. So my invitation is that the places where we want to learn to be more gracious and open-hearted towards ourselves about accepting help and being receptive, that being human means we're getting helped all the time, right? So whatever your last meal was, so everybody just ponder what your last meal was. I just ate potato chips from my friend Ginny. Okay, that was my last meal. I'll have more, but okay, so even something like potato chips, not really a meal, but you know. So there was somebody who planted the potatoes. There was somebody who grew the potatoes. There was somebody who weeded the potatoes. There was somebody who harvested the potatoes. It went on a truck that somebody built. Somebody, you know, all these people had mothers that raised them, right? And fathers that raised them. And all the food that they ate to become adults to harvest or plant the potatoes, the oil and gas that went into the trucks to transport said potatoes, the machinery that was created by somebody's genius to slice the potatoes, the oil, and where did the oil come from? So, and then we haven't even talked about the grocery store or the packaging or the design or the person who created, bless them, little foil things that would keep things fresh, right? So the idea that any of us is independent is really funny when you start to really step back and look at it. None of us are independent. True, that is the truth. We're all interdependent and interwoven, right? So that understanding, and that also when we're ill, what I found to be helpful is to be soft with myself that I feel vulnerable. I feel vulnerable, right? And when we can acknowledge our own vulnerability, then it's okay. Then, and we start softening around that, it becomes easier to receive because we realize is everybody's vulnerable, right? Yeah, and exactly, Ashley. And when we let others help us, we give them the gift of being able to help someone they love. Yeah, exactly. Or to pay something, you know, to pass something forward, right? Yeah. And so, especially those of us that are in big service that find it really difficult to receive because we've become habituated to just giving and jumping in beforehand, want to invite you to start to hold back a little bit and let other people do stuff, because it's kind of magic. People can do more shit than you think, especially if you're willing for them to do it in a different way than you do, right? So that combo of letting ourselves feel the vulnerability when we are ill or sick and understand we are interdependent and that our value does not come from just being productive. Our value comes from being. I was going to say being alive, but I think dead people have value too. So, right? Just being. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, beautiful conclusion. Giving and receiving reciprocity is a gift of fire, sexual energy, and the Tao of the 8 trigrams. Yeah, there's always movement. Kamala, when I had a cancer journey and could not do it alone, I realized others wanted to do things for me. Yes, that is what made them feel good and helpful, and they appreciated being asked. And so I saw that my gift to them was to receive. Yes, I love this. Thank you so much for sharing this, sweetie. One can't give if one doesn't receive. Mm-hmm. It was challenging to receive. Sorry, dog check. Way too much enthusiasm, which probably means it's something she shouldn't be eating. All right, I don't know what that is. It was challenging to receive, but it's a gift to all involved. Absolutely. And it gets easier. It gets easier. And when we start to feel that flow going back and forth, such a gift. So thanks for sharing that, sweetheart. It's so helpful. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, okay. That is something she could eat. Yay. Something I gave her. How exciting. I like to think that what we're doing in our lives is we're learning how to become less sponge-like for taking on other people's emotional content, mental content, and energy, because we tend to be very porous in that way of sponge, like, oh, you have negative feelings, let me help you, let me sponge that up. We often don't even realize we're doing it. Oh, you have a belief about me or about how I should be, let me take that on. And so we can get really porous without even realizing it, where we're taking on other people's ideas or thought forms. Even when we don't consciously believe them, there's like a place that it goes in and we're like, but what if it's true? Okay. And what's interesting is that when we really, really don't believe something, it doesn't penetrate at all. I remember very clearly, my dad and I had a challenging relationship when he was alive. We have a better one now that he's dead. But in that relationship, he was very critical, like he's just a critical human. And I was always feeling judged and always feeling like I didn't live up to his standards. And one day he said something to me and I was like, why? Like, it had no impact. It was something about my face and something that I should do with my face. And I was just like, glad, like whatever. Like I had no reaction. I was like, isn't that interesting? Like somebody else, that would have been a dagger. And I was just like, nope, not my dream. And that's it. When it's really not your dream, it's not going to penetrate. So what we can do is understand when something does penetrate, it's because there's a wobble in our system. And instead of fighting it or like putting a bunch of energy, we can go, okay, I want to fix that wobble. I want to fix that wobble. Thanks for pointing this is what happens in your mind voice. Thanks for showing me that wobble. I will now go attend to it. Right. And yeah, so it can be a help. It can actually be really helpful because then we get curious. What's the agreement that I'm holding? I'll just show you what's happening right now. Can you guys see that? Oh, it's not really showing. That was holding a leak. Okay, did you finish? Oh, now you're getting there. I take it you need some water. There was a leak in the house, and that was the container. I love it. Okay. Also, I'm doing a receiving journal. Every night I look at what I received that day and the quality of my receiving, and also noticing when I deflected it or didn't take it all in. That is genius. I love that. Yeah, a receiving journal. Ooh, that is great. Yeah, the quality of my receiving. What a great thing to focus on. Yeah, love that. Good. Any other shares or questions?
I think what this helped clarify for me is how to lean into my growth without falling into the dream of the planet.
Yeah, good. How to lean into your own growth without falling into the dream of the planet. Yeah, and loves getting clear about what your focus is in your life changes everything. Because then you have a marker. This is why I love Awaken Your Inner Fire, because it talks about that of like, once you have a focus, and you're going to have a different intent with different relationships as well, or different parts of your life. So for example, my intent at work might be to slow down and to reflect before. I had a win about that today. So I was behind on a newsletter that I was working on for another organization that I work with. And this morning I finished the newsletter and I was about to just hit send. And I thought, Nope, sweetie. Give it to the team. Delegate, like give it to the team, have them edit it and reflect on it before you send it out. Another day isn't going to make a big difference. And what a gift, because then the people that I'm working with, instead of me holding that, I have to do all of it, I got to say, passing it to you, you guys edit it, pass it back to me, and I'll mail it. And it's going to be a much better thing. So I slowed down. So having an intent, my intent at work right now is slow down, be more thoughtful, like stop rushing everything. Dog, get down. My intent with the dog is not to kill her. You should have intents in all your relationships. I'm like, I've got 2 more weeks before she goes to the trainer. If I cannot damage her, that would be really helpful. No trauma. That's what, actually, it's not killing her. That was earlier on. Now we're just like, oh God, let me not traumatize her. Mystic, come here. Come here. There you go. Drink that. Don't drink anything else. So that's my goal. I'm doing good. And so with other relationships, I have different intent. And so if I'm clear on that, then it makes it easier to make decisions, to say yes or no, to set a boundary, to choose what the experiment is that I'm running. Like, okay, what am I doing in this relationship? What does it look like? And it's going to be different. Melissa, you're so correct. On Audible, there is also the Awakening Your Inner Fire, a step-by-step course to ignite your passion and create the life you love, which is amazing. Good. I'm glad you love it. I love it too. I love Sounds True. Yeah. Yeah. In conclusion, right, reflecting on my intent for the next day when I lie down is huge. That is so true. Yeah. Yeah. So if you have a relationship that you want to go deeper in, if you have a relationship that's challenging, what's your intent for yourself, not for them? That's the trick, because so often we're like, my intent is for them to be nicer to me. No, not helpful, because you can't control them. I'm sorry. Right? Bummer. Really, thank goodness. Because if we could control other people, that means other people could control us. So, yay for self-determination. Yeah. And for gratitude and resiliency and bringing more joy in. And, yesterday when the tent flooded, I was like bummed at first, because I was like, oh God, this is gonna be work to move this whole thing. And then I was like, and here we are. What's my intent? My intent is to be efficient and to just do what needs to get done. And earlier this week, the other intent I have right now is clearing a bunch of stuff out of my life that I don't need, so that it's easier to move between things. And I was like, well, I said I wanted to clean the closet, so I get to pull all my clothes out and decide. And so I did. I had to pull everything out, literally out of the little boxes. I don't have a closet in a tent. I have all these little canvas boxes that slide under the bed. So I got to pull everything out and be like, yes, yes, no. Yay. So may we all have that spaciousness in our life around the clarity of what our intent is, so we can sort. So we can choose the experiment that we really, really want to have. Conclusion, do you have a really long clothesline? That would be really fun. I had a bunch. I do, but it wasn't up on the land. I just used scrub oak. I'll share the photo. It's pretty funny. The other thing that I did, this is the other thing I'm going to write about that I haven't really talked about too much, is when I was in New York, I took a pottery class. Some of you know this. And I recently acquired somebody's pottery studio. So I have a beautiful wheel, I have a kiln, I have glaze, I have everything. Like I have somebody's 50 years of being a potter that she passed on to me. And I have a tent now up on the land. That's my pottery studio.
Mm.
It's a 10 by 10 and it's powered by solar. So I have a battery that I plug in everything. And one of the things about that, it's the best. It is the best. Is that there's this just delight and exploration in a new art form and playing with that, which is really great. And so that clarity around what's my intent, where do I want to put my energy, how do I want to play, and that there's no right way to do it. I went off topic a little bit, so apologize. Yeah, exactly. When we were little, others did control us, and those little inner selves, this is so true. And those little inner selves think that is how we are supposed to do it. It's reparenting practice for sure. It sure is. Yeah. Yeah, it really, really is. And we make up all sorts of interesting things, right? We make up all sorts of, like, we learn things and then we also make things up. So I will write more about said pottery studio, especially when I start firing things, which we're getting the kiln up and running. Yeah. Oh, that's right. Okay, I found the thread. So I was like, wonder if I can make pots out of the soup that's under my tent. So I scooped up mud from where the tent was, and I'm bringing it to my pottery teacher tomorrow.
Mm.
So there might be tent flood pots. It's really sandy, but it might be really good.
Mm.
Ashley, I love choosing in that moment to be in a good state of mind rather than dwelling in negativity. Each moment is so precious, but I have the intent of honoring each moment as fully as I can by my conscious choice. It makes that moment of decision much more clear and important. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. 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 Pottery classes at Warrior Heart Ranch. I think for sure. Get down. Yeah, I think for sure. Wild clay, exactly. It's interesting to find out what cone the clay needs to fire to. It will be, yeah, yeah. So I will share more about that later. Hey, don't eat that and get down. That can be the second part of the article. Get down. Good girl. Come here. Come here, sweetie. Thank you. Yes. No, you can't have my coffee. That would be bad. All right, loves. So more articles around relationship, around communication, around clay, and around flooded tents coming your way. So thank you to each of you for being part of Out of the Fire, whether you're a paid subscriber or you're a free subscriber. I'm just so grateful to be challenged every week to think, shit, what am I going to write about? And one day, I keep saying this, I've been saying this for 2 years now. I will get ahead, but that has not happened. Every week I'm still like, shit, what am I going to write about? So just know that that happens every week. But then, you know, being a creative, then you figure it out. And the pressure is actually beautiful. Yeah. Oh, ash glaze is amazing. In addition to the glaze, horsehair is beautiful too. Yeah, I actually have raku clay that this woman Kay gave me, so I'll have to play with that and with the firing. But first, the first firing, which I'll take photos of. We'll see how it goes. Heather, I'm working on your scarf. I think about you all the time because I'm like, there's that beautiful yarn, and I'm waiting for my hand to heal now. So it's slowly healing. What about exploring that? I was thinking that, yeah. I'm also, you know what, I started an article as well, and maybe this will go with this receiving journal idea, and which I love so much. I'm writing it down. Different kinds of ways to walk. I started that article and I didn't finish it because it's really learning how to walk and be receptive. That's where this article started, was I went for a walk and I realized I'm always like walking to exercise or to get somewhere, or I was like, what if I just walk to receive? What does
Mhm.
that feel like? And so then I started looking at the different types of walks. So I'll finish that one and get that one to you all as well. And as always, I read all the comments. I love when people share things, or if you have ideas, if you just hit reply to any of the Substack articles, it comes straight to me. So
Mm.
it comes to my main email address, my personal email address. So don't tell everybody that, because almost everything else goes through my team. But that one, they're like, shuffle that through us too. And I'm like, nope, this is going direct. So just know when you hit reply to any of the articles, I see it immediately because it comes into my inbox and I'm like, somebody said something about something. Yay. All right, loves. I'm going to mute everybody. Thanks for being with me on my personal sweat lodge. As la 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 la. Ask all to unmute.
Thank you. Bye.
Gloria,
Thank
good to
you.
see you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
And all the
Bye.
ladies here.
Thanks,
Wonderful ladies.
loves. Thanks for
Today.
joining today. Mwah.
Love you all so much.
Love to
Thank
everybody who
you.
is watching the recordings too.
you.
Bye, sweeties.
Bye.